Welcome back, everybody who's listening to this. I appreciate you a lot. Happy holidays. Um, 2024, I hope it went well for you. I admit I've been on a hiatus for almost the entire year. I don't really think you can call it a hiatus. I just been gone, but I'm back. Hesitantly, but I'm back. Uh, this year was really, really rough for me mentally. It has very, very high highs. It's a lot of descriptive words and very, very low lows. So right now we're in the middle point. I'm back to feeling like myself again. So that's why we're bringing this back because I missed it a lot, very much so. And I would love to continue this as long as I can. So we're back. We're going to make this the official start of season 3. Um, and we're going to keep it going as long as possible. So I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a 2024 annual review of sorts with you guys, just to kind of be transparent on where I've been, what's been happening, and where I am now, and where are we kind of going. And I'll do that in a couple of different ways, but I think I wanted to start with like what went wrong this year, and then we can pick it back up with what went right this year. So what went wrong this year? I overloaded my capacity to do things physically and mentally. So at the beginning of the year, when I was really wanting to be really focused on content and I had these goals, I could not juggle that with work, with planning a wedding. So content went away, and I was just trying to focus on let me get through work, let me get through wedding, let me get through the move, let me get moved into this new state and city and completely new region of the states of the country. So that was my first half of my entire year. And throughout the entirety of it, I was still trying to make videos, make posts, but I was telling myself, don't expect growth, you're fine if it doesn't work out, etc. All these things. And I essentially didn't even start off the year in a good mental space because even at the end of 2023 and towards the second half of 2023, I was under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, self-inflicted pressure and external pressure. I just couldn't. I tried to numb all of it so that I could basically try and function. And I was trying to compartmentalize, and I don't think I did it right. So what ended up happening was I just fully imploded, and I was just in a really bad mental space. The wedding itself was obviously great. That week there, having all of the family that I haven't seen in years show up and celebrating with two whole families, all of that was really good. But it was a lot of stress up until that week. It was a lot of stress during that week. And then it was more stress after that week because we had about 3 weeks to plan a move, or not plan the move, but like get moved. My wife had her own work that she had to deal with. All of that happened, and then we landed here in this new state. And Pennsylvania is nice. I like it. I like the north area. I loved the summers and the weathers and everything. But what happened was I started getting back into this really bad rut with everything. And to skip kind of the bit more mundane details, I'll skip forward to August, September-ish. I got a nose surgery. So I went back to Texas, stayed with my family, got the surgery, was with them for 3 weeks. Heavy working, busy season was upon us. September happened, more busy season is upon us. I'm working a lot of hours, and I'm not fully able to do everything that I want to do just because work takes precedence. And I think what happened in June and July was I want to do everything I can do because work can be slower. It's not super intense yet, right? I can do my 8 hours of work, and then I can do everything else. I can go work out. I can cook for my wife and I can spend time with her in the evenings, but I can also record, and I can also edit. I can also have time to read, and then I can also have time to play video games. And no, 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 no. Like it doesn't work like that. It simply does not work like that. The Elden Ring DLC came out this summer, and I was grinding that with friends up until like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. And so I kept like certain parts of life kept dropping off, and that ended up spiraling me into like a more of a depressive, anxious episode. I would wake up in the mornings at 7:30 a.m. because I can't wake up at any other time of the day. That's just when my body will wake up. And I would stay in bed, doom scrolling on my phone until like 9:30, 9:45, until I had to get up out of my bed to then sit at my desk and work. That was my mornings for months. Some good days sprinkled in, but predominantly bad days like that. And the entire day, I felt like I was playing catch up. Like I had a really bad morning, so I got to make the rest of this day really good. And then I just you try to cram a lot of things into not a lot of time, thinking that you're already starting to fall behind when you've just woken up. So then I ended up like all the way through September, it was just a lot of that. But I hadn't identified it at that point. It was at the end of September that I really thought like, wow, this is what's been happening to me. And it felt like one of my rock bottoms of like I feel like I've just hit the bottom of the barrel. Like I don't know what to do. I had no accountability to myself. I could not rely on my wife for accountability only because she has to work 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day sometimes with her job. And so I didn't even ask her for the accountability. I asked her for help on certain things, which she did, and it was great. But it was very difficult. But I realized like it has to be you to help yourself. You can't. Nobody else is gonna come and help you. Nobody else is gonna rescue you. So I rescued myself. I spent the entirety of October with the camera as my accountability partner. I turned on my camera every day and I just did whatever I was supposed to do that day. So I would wake up, I would talk to the camera, say good morning. I would bring with me into the bathroom. I would brush my teeth in front of it. I would do my nasal rinse for my nose in front of it. I would wash my face in front of it. I did not shower in front of it, thank God. I would put it on and do some chores like cleaning the dishes or cleaning the kitchen or doing laundry or checking mail. I would just keep it on while I'm doing things I should be doing. Or that I told myself, this is what you should be doing with your time, as opposed to doom scrolling. And this is still like I was like, you're not doing any content, you're not doing anything goal driven. You're simply doing these simple, small, foundational things you need to be doing every day to make sure that your day starts off ahead, not falling behind. And I could tell from day 1 to day 14 to day 31 how good I felt. There were some days towards the end of the month that it felt like a little bit of a relapse. So I tried to identify those and work on those, etc. But I really spent October really picking myself like out of my own pit, and I think that's what made. I was very proud of myself for the first time in a long time. Of like, you really did this. You really did this for yourself. You really did this for your future, your goals, who you are. And I recorded all of that. I edited all of that. All 31 days are on my computer. I don't know if they'll ever be released, but they're there as my own like documentation of what I did and how I did it. And what I ended up doing after that was I want to catch back up with life. I still want to use November and December very like to the point to however I can. I want to use them properly. So how can I do that? So I started journaling, actually, guys. I started journaling and I just kind of wrote down all the thoughts I had about the different parts of my life. Like I journaled about how I feel like my relationship with my wife is going. I journaled about how my relationship with my friends and family are going. I journaled about my relationship with my physical health and my body and the gym. How is that going? How is my relationship with my content? With what am I trying to do with my work? What does work mean to me? So after all of that, I kind of identified all of that. I realized that I felt like I was failing in a lot of things when realistically I probably wasn't objectively a third party, viewpoint on it, omniscient reader's viewpoint on it, but I felt like I was failing. So turned the page. I wrote down catching up with life. Let's start. So I wrote down first my wife's name, and I said, what can I do for her? And it was all these different things that I know that we talked about doing together, we need to do together, we haven't done yet, etc. Put those on the list. Next section, the podcast. What do I want to do for that? And I wrote, backpedaling. The next section was catching up with friends. I wrote down a list of people that I wanted to reach out to and message and talk to again, because I haven't talked to them in a while. More on that a little bit later. And then it was like about the work and the gym and the content and stuff. What do I want out of the gym? What do I want out of my body? What do I want out of content? What I did for the podcast was I wrote down every single person that I could think of at that time that I would want on my podcast at some point. And then I would mentally compartmentalize it into like tiers of, is this person within my current network that I can reach out to? Next tier, is this person not in my network, but do I have someone in the first tier that can maybe get me to closer to the person in the next tier? And then tier 3 is people who I just have nowhere near in my network, but the goal is to move everybody down to the first tier of people who are in my network who I can reach out to. And then to the book, the page I put on my book, catching up with the archives, was crazy. There were so many video ideas there and all this stuff. And then similarly, I want to do the same thing I do with the podcast, but on the book channel in terms of talking to authors. So previously my bottleneck was my thought that I need to reach a certain level of clout, renown, prestige, something to show that I know what I'm doing before I can reach out to people. This was for the podcast and this was for the archives channel. I told myself until I can properly have until I can learn how to have a good interview, what questions to ask, how to speak properly without stuttering, how to have good presence, how can I make good videos that will get views. If I can get my book channel to be monetized, I know that at some point I have maybe figured out a framework for myself to create videos that are worth people watching and then me getting monetized and worth getting subscribers. Then I had something of value to offer the authors that I was going to ask to come on and talk with me. That was similar to the podcast as well. Am I good enough to run this thing solo until I can show somebody there's value? Here is some value for you to come talk to me on my podcast or talk to me on the archives channel. I was intentionally handicapping myself, thinking that I wasn't good enough to go to the next level. And I wanted to stop that. I wanted to see, how does it feel if I didn't do that? So what I ended up doing was, for people that I wanted on the podcast, I reached out to them. I reached out to 8 people or so. I had more in mind. I just haven't gotten a response back, but there were 7 people who responded back and said, yeah, I'm down. Just out of the blue. Oh, not out of the blue. I just kind of messaged them to catch up with them and then just asked, would you like to come on my podcast and chat with me? I would love to talk with you on there. And they said, yes, of course. I'm down. Whatever you need. Or I'm just down to have a fun conversation with you. And it was one of the most surprising things that I've ever experienced, because here I thought that I'm supposed to be providing you this value mechanism, this thing for you, and you have just openly and readily come to join me, and without any strings attached. And it was a very new experience for me, because I thought I was supposed to be good enough for this, not do this first and then get good while doing it. But I fed more into that thought, and I realized that, listen, Arish, you've spent roughly actually 3 whole years now trying to create content. If you go back to my first videos, they were all bad lighting, bad audio, maybe bad speech, or, not as good speech and cadence and all these things. And I've grown so much in 3 years. This is the value that I can start adding. I can start adding this value of a good quality from a technical standpoint, and then good quality from a substance standpoint will be with people. So I was very happy, and it lit another fire inside of me of like, I need to make this work. There are people now who are trusting me in a way to do this, and I want to do that for them and for myself. So that was something that was really, really cool. I remember the first podcast that I had scheduled was a 9 p.m. podcast with a friend of mine. It went till about 11 p.m. And the day before, I was sitting on my desk on this setup, and I had a different friend of mine on call with me. Shout out Canvas. Just on a Zoom call with me, trying to figure out, okay, how long does an individual Zoom call last for again? Like, I have a free account. What about lighting? What about angles? Like, what do I need to do? What's the best camera angle for this? What's the best backlighting, front lighting for this? What's the best framing for this? We spent almost basically an hour doing that the day before to prep for it. And when I did the first podcast interview, I was over. It ended at 11 p.m. And at the end of it, I had so much more energy. I went downstairs to our bedroom, and my wife was already asleep. And I told her, I don't know if I can sleep right now. I'm so wired. It was amazing. It was so, so amazing. And I wanted that feeling again and again and again. So that was the podcast. That's how this came back, is just honestly doing the next step before thinking I'm ready for the next step. That's essentially what happened. And I'm very proud of myself for doing such a thing. Going to the book channel, throughout this entire time when I had not been reading or had not been posting as much, I was still reading a ton. And what I had started doing was actually trying to chat with authors on like Twitter and things. And I'd started following a lot more people on Twitter, and I was trying to fix my Twitter feed because it was one of the reasons why I was doom scrolling so much. So I was trying to fix it by following really authors and other readers and other creators that I like, and then constantly looking at things and saying, okay, I don't like this post, not interested, force this out of my feed. I don't need to see this. I don't want to see this. So I ended up just, being exposed to other authors and other creators who were making YouTube videos. And I just started not having conversations with them, but I would start adding authors a little bit more, just like, hey, like, I read your book, this is dope. Or as I'm reading a book, I might tag them in my like responses or my reactions. And what ended up happening was it just ended up to the point where I felt comfortable doing that. And I started posting. In December, I posted 3 videos for my archives channel, and they did well. They did better than I expected, rather. Not necessarily well, but better than I expected. And I expect nothing, so everything does better than I expected. But I would start posting them everywhere. I started, taking all of this experience that I had and really putting like the lessons to my brain, and really executing properly, trying to get good lighting for all my videos, a good script or a good outline, really preparing for them, really, dressing well, getting my thoughts collected. If I really making sure I say what I want to say, that way, even if I rant and go off on a tangent and I want to edit that out, I at least said what I wanted to say. And bulking those recordings so it allows me to then edit. And sorry, I once again, I understand I'm getting on a tangent. I just wanted to explain like a little bit of the detail, and just to say that I'm very happy with where my mind is right now. and all these things. That's the crux of the matter is, you know, October really set me up for a good November of reaching out to people to come on the podcast. And November 1st, I remember, because I remember, you guys, I had that list of friends that I wanted to catch up with. What I ended up doing was I still had a little bit of anxiety around actually sending people messages of like, do you want to catch up, or how are you doing? There were so many people on that list. So then what I ended up doing was I was on the treadmill at the gym, and I had the journal with me, and I just went down the list, and I said, this person DM, this person DM, this person DM. I think I DM'd like maybe 8 or 10 people at once, just to ask, in the next 2 weeks, do you have time to get, are you available for a call to catch up? And more than half of them said, yep, tell me when it works for you. And so just by doing that, and by, telling both of us like, hey, giving each other a deadline frame, like within the next 2 weeks, let's schedule it out. Let's put it on our calendars. Let's really commit to having this call. Because I know that the friends that I have are similar to me in that they appreciate a lot of the same things I do. So they would appreciate the phone call versus just texting back and forth and trying to message and having 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to a day long delay between messages. That's just not what you want when you're trying to catch up with somebody. And also you don't want to type out everything that's been going on. So I ended up catching up with people like friends and college friends that I haven't seen in years, people that I haven't seen this year since I moved. And everybody, including myself, came out of those conversations very happy, I feel like because I did that, my relationship with them strengthened. And a lot of them did say, thank you for reaching out and doing this, because I really like this. I think this is cool. And it's been a long time coming, etc. They also did have a lot of good compliments to give me. And when I told them about my story of October and the summer, a lot of them had good supportive compliments and things like that. So it also helped me that way of like, I still have this support system that's, ready to help me out as I need. So all of that was a really, really good November, and December was my work month. It was like, I have all these podcast interviews scheduled. I have these book things that I want to post, and I'm reading a ton, and I have all these ideas. And so I've been executing these things, and it's felt really good. It feels like I'm actually not doing busy work, but I'm actually doing the work that I need to be doing to progress in some sort of way. Very happy with that. Very happy with all of that stuff. I also, this is for you men out there. Dude, I started therapy. Dog, if you don't think you need therapy, I think you may need to give it a shot. And the only reason I say that is I think we could all, in today's day and age, benefit from therapy in some way or another. And that's not to say that, you have to do it forever, things like that. But I feel like we could all benefit from trying therapy if we feel that there's something that we need help with. Here is what cinched the deal for me. When I was talking to myself in October, and I thought, here are these goals that I have for myself. Here's what I really want to achieve in life. Here's who I want to be. And then I had a very honest conversation with myself. I said, the person that you are now is not the person who can achieve these goals. You have quite a few things that you need to work on, whether it's emotionally, professionally, technically. You have a lot of things you need to work on. So you have to do the work to make yourself into the person who can achieve the goals that you have for yourself. That's what I told myself. And when I told myself that, it kind of clicked that it does not matter who I am right now. It matters who I'm trying to be. And in order to be the person that I want to, in order to be the person who can achieve the goals that I want to achieve, I have to change that. I have to do the actions that change that. One of the actions was therapy. So I went ahead and reached out, and I started sessions, and they've been good, and we've been working through things. I realized I've had pretty big issue with anxiety. And one day I'll probably talk in more detail about the actual work that I've been doing, but I think it's more beneficial that I go through the work now and then talk about the results afterwards. But they've been going well, and I would highly, highly recommend that you, as a man, I know that a lot of times you tell yourself you don't need it. There's nothing wrong. There's no reason for it. If you have people relying on you, if you are trying to build something for yourself, if you're trying to become a man that people look to, I think you should look inside of yourself and look and see, is there work that needs to be done? Can I do that work myself, or do I need help? And if you need help, I think therapy would be a good start, you know? And the reason why I'm focusing on the men is because I have also really come to realize a lot of mental health issues that I had, and I've seen in other people, other men. And it's based on kind of where we all are in society right now, where society is right now, all these things. I would like to get into that topic on a later date. But I want to try it harder for my brethren out there, and really help support the men in my life, in my community, in my circle. And that way, in turn, we can all support the women in our lives that help us do what we want to do and what we can do every single day. So that was 2024. That's kind of where we are. That's kind of how I got here. I feel like I've put in a lot of work. I'm very proud of myself. There's still more work to be done, and I like that. I like the fact that where I don't find gratification, maybe the specific job I do right now, I find gratification in the work that I'm doing on myself. And everything will fall in line eventually, as long as I keep progressing forward. I don't want to slow down my pace of life anymore. I feel like I've done that. I have to workshop this idea. I was actually talking to my wife about it last night, and she helped me kind of work through it, but the idea isn't like formed, it doesn't have substance yet, but it has to do with the pacing of life. And I think one day, hopefully, when I have it, I can share it with you guys. Moving gears a little bit. For the past 2 years, this is the third year I'm talking about this, we don't like New Year's resolutions on this channel. We don't. And the reason being is because I think this was a stat from 23, or it might have been a stat from 24. I'd have to check for you. But 91% of New Year's resolutions fail. 91%. If I had told you, yo, go change your tires out, but that garage you're going to has a 91%, 91 1 stars out of 100 reviews. Or if I had told you, hey, try this new restaurant, but they have a 91% stomach bug rate for some reason. Things like that, right? Why would you do something that has a 91% failure rate? New Year's resolutions have a 91% failure rate. I've been telling you for 2 years now, this is the third year, reframe and reposition the resolution as a motto. In my opinion, that is how it is more. I had a train of thought and I lost it. But basically, use a motto to reframe a resolution for you and have it. And it's a motto is better served, or a motto serves you better than a resolution does. That's what I was trying to say. A motto serves you better than a resolution does. So earlier this week, I was listening to a podcast from Chris Williamson, and it was his life lessons, life hacks, and 2024 year-end review podcast with 3 of his friends. And on there, I believe there's a gentleman called George Mack, I think, but I know his first name is George. And towards the end of it, George was talking about this specific stat that I had looked up previously of New Year's resolutions have a 91% failure rate, and but people keep doing it, and that's because they haven't found a new system that works. And I like that. I love that other people are bringing attention to this now, because you can't deny the importance of a fresh start, and every year feels like a new start because it's a new year, and everybody wants to start the year off well. But like we've talked before, New Year's resolutions are very fickle, they're very vain, they're very surface level. They don't have a lot of substance unless you give it substance. But that's why I like a motto. A motto is a way to live your year by, right? As opposed to a resolution. And then you can then achieve whatever goals you want to achieve through the motto. That's how it works. So I'm still here to tell you, fuck your resolution. Let's work on a motto to live your year by. I'm not sure what my motto is. There's still a lot of work that I had to do mentally to even get through the end of 2024. And so looking forward to 2025, I'm just trying to keep things going. If I were to give an example of what I would think a good motto for 2025 would be, I think it would be pacing. I want to pace myself a bit faster than I usually do. And by that, I mean, I want to do a lot more important things early versus pushing them off, right? I want to make sure I'm getting in the gym often enough a week and pushing the weight that I need to get the strength and the growth that I want. I want to really look forward into the month and think, when am I busy? When am I not? Where can I take my wife out on a date? And where can we go out and have some us time instead of working all the time? What days do I have open to read and make videos and or schedule calls with people for podcasts? Can I schedule those earlier into the year to where I have them bulk recorded and then I can edit and post them as neat, things like that, right? It's really pacing things a little bit faster as opposed to just a snail's pace, which is what I felt like. I feel like I'm ready for a faster pace. And so if my motto is pacing, then every time I'm doing something, I can tell myself, am I going too fast? Do I need to slow down? Or do I need to pick it up? Do I need to push the pedal a little bit more? So for me, it's pacing. For you, it might be something different. If you want to talk about mottos with me, please let me know. I would love to talk about that with you. And I'm really get to a motto that really helps you thrive this upcoming year. The next thing that I'm going to yoink and twist from Chris Williamson's podcast is actually something that he and his friends did called life hacks and life lessons, where they each shared like a life hack that they used this year that really was a hack for them, and then life lessons that they had learned this year, good or bad. I have 5 life hacks for you, and I've talked about these before, and I want to put them all like here as like definitive as of 2024. These are my current hacks. The first one is the 8 sleep. The 8 sleep mattress pod, but in general, it's simply the concept is having a temperature controlled mattress or mattress pod. And I've talked about my sleep on here, I believe, plenty of times. I value sleep almost more than anything else about my health. And so essentially what this 8 sleep has done is it's taken what my preferences are in terms of how I sleep and given that to me. I no longer sleep hot. I'm no longer sweaty. I don't wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom because I'm very hot and sweaty, and then my system's functioning, wants to flush things out. The 8 sleep, I invested in it, like not invested in the actual company, but like I just got the product. It was the first thing that I invested in myself in 2022. And so I've had this thing for 3 years now, and every single person that I talk to, I say, you should get this. If you value your sleep, you should look into investing into this, because it's amazing. I love it. There's temperature settings for myself, and it can be split with my wife, so we're not on the same setting because she sleeps hot, I sleep cold. Just last week, the 8 sleep for some reason wasn't working one night. Maybe I think I hadn't like set it or something like that, so I slept really hot that night, and I woke up in the middle of the early morning to use the bathroom. I can't tell you how angry I was, because I was like, I cannot believe I'm up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and I haven't done this in almost 3 years now with this bed. And it's simply because the bed wasn't on and functioning the way it should be. As soon as it's on and functioning, I sleep through the entire night, wake up at 7:30 when I need to, and can start my day as I need to. So I would 100%, if you have the capacity to look into investing into that, it is truly amazing, in my opinion. The second thing is morning walks. I say that 90% of our problems can be solved with a morning walk. 90% of our problems can be solved with a morning walk, because what you are doing is you are not getting on your phone and doom scrolling the first thing. You are not going from a laid down sleeping position to then a sitting position somewhere on your couch or your dining table or something like that, or in your car. You're not hunched over looking at something, whether it's a book or your laptop or your phone, right? You are upright, you are moving, and you have bright sunlight or sunlight and fresh air in your system the first thing in the day. And I have found that days that I do that are like 100% better than days that I don't do that. This is my own personal anecdote, 100% of my days that have started with morning walk, morning sunlight have been better than days without. And anytime, like, I was in such a depressive episode all summer, part of the things that I did in October the part of the things that I did in October to get myself back into feeling normal again was going back out and outside in the mornings and getting a walk in, or in the middle of the day getting another walk in, or things like that. So that's really there's so much value there. It just feels good. Forget all the science. It just feels really good. And I would really urge you to do this. Try it out and see how it feels. See how you feel doing it. I personally like to walk with like a podcast in my brain, so it's like activating my brain to like think a little bit. It's not just me walking to music. I'm walking and thinking and listening, and it's kind of waking all parts of my system up at the same time, but in less of a shocking way. It's just more of like it's gradually getting me up right now. I'm ambling a little bit, and then I'm fully walking, and then like I'm feeling good. My body's warm. It's open. My brain is now thinking about interesting things. And when I come back into the house, I don't always reach for my phone. A lot of the times I've found that because I'm already in this realm of motion, I'm like, how can I keep myself moving? I can walk here, I can maybe do the dishes, or I can stand and do the dishes, or I can clean something, or I can go vacuum, or I can do some chores around the house, or maybe I can do things that keep me walking just up until I need to sit down and start doing some work. But it started my day so far ahead than where it could have been if I were just sitting and doing nothing for 2 hours in the morning. So that's the second life hack. The third life hack, listen, anything that I can do to beat my laziness, I will. This is a blender bottle that I got from Amazon. It's called the Evil Blender Bottle. Post-editing Arch here real quickly. Just wanted to mention the the bottle blender is not called the Evil. That was a machine that I saw at the gym. The bottle is actually called a Volt RX electric protein shaker bottle. So in case you're wondering and want to look up what is he talking about when he's moving his hands and trying to demonstrate, that's the actual product. I keep saying evil for the rest of the podcast, and I apologize for that. So there you go. And I will try not to interrupt again, but I will also try not to get things wrong like this again. Thank you, and let's get back to the podcast. And essentially, it's not a blender and then a bottle you cork in, and the blender is like a wired thing into the outlet. It's literally a bottle, fully closed. It has the blade built into the bottle, and there's a portable rotating machine that you hook into the bottom of the blender. Click the button. For like 30 seconds to a minute. It'll just blend whatever you have in the bottle, and then you unhook the rotating mechanism, put it away, and then you just have your bottle. The blade itself is like plastic or something like that. It's really only should be used for like powders and shakes and things like that. It's not good. You're not gonna want to use it for like your berries and your milkshakes and your bananas and things like that. No, I just put my milk, I put my other powders, and I'm going. But what it does, it removes the friction of getting up this entire wired contraption, putting in putting everything in the bottle, setting it up, uncorking it, putting things away. It just removes just a little bit more of the friction that makes it so much easier to use every single day. I can wash the bottle, then reuse it, wash the bottle, then reuse it. I don't have to wash a blade, things like that. I don't have to wash too many things at one time. It makes it so much easier to reuse every single day. And that's what I've been doing. And it's allowed me to use it and get more of like the protein and the greens and the other things that I want in my system every single day. So I really do love that. I kind of want to get a second one because there's just days when I don't wash it in time. But I really like that. I think it's amazing. The next thing, I have talked about this before, but it's a walking pad and a standing desk, right? Because we're sitting down all the time. All the time we're sitting down for work and for other things, or looking at our phone or looking at something on something. We're always looking down at something. And so the standing desk really first just gets you in the habit of being upright for a bulk of your day if you're standing and doing some work. But then the walking pad just adds to that. If a lot of people are now really, really, um, what's the word for it? Obsessed with getting their steps in and all this stuff. And if you can't go outside to go for a walk and you have a lot of work to do, you can walk while working. And I like that a lot. Because I know that I don't walk enough. Generally speaking, I do not walk enough. And this has just helped me walk more as I'm doing other things, whether it's meetings with people, calls with people, my own personal work, or just watching things. It's just better. So I'd really recommend a walking pad. It's great. And I would start with a standing desk, get used to standing while doing things for longer periods of times, and then then get the walking pad and just kind of get used to on lower levels. Like, it's hard for me to do a lot of deep work while walking because depending on the speed that I walk at, my hand moves a lot on the mouse and I can't detail click on things. It's hard for me to use the walking pad while I'm doing detailed clerical work. But if I'm just in meetings or doing some research or like watching videos or things like that, it's just easy to do while you're walking, you know? You can also read while doing this. Just set this up and just have your Kindle, your book in front of you, or if you're on a desk, put the book down, but you're standing and you're walking and you're reading. It's great. It really benefits all aspects of life, in my opinion. Walking pad plus standing desk. That's all you need. The last thing is literally the most recent thing that I've started using. It's called the Opal app. And I've had a problem with distracting myself a lot. I've had a problem with being like reaching for my phone a lot. Even though I feel like I don't do it as much as maybe other people do, I still do it a lot for myself. And it's really, really bad. It is very bad and I hate it. And I could not find an app yet that helped me the way I wanted, which was basically block me from using these apps for a certain amount of time. That's it. Like no negotiation. Just I can't click on this thing. And that's what Opal does. So I got Opal from Chris Williamson again. I think Chris Williamson has quite literally just transformed my entire life in the past 3 months. I credit 10% of my growth in 2024 to Chris Williamson. Shout out, mans. So the app is really cool in that it has like the usual reward dopamine system of like you have this rock that is, your symbol or that is like the thing that you are working towards. Like I'll show you guys the app just so you can kind of see. So I have this rock. That is my rock. That is the thing that I am growing essentially. And what is happening is I have it set up on different different blocks, right? So essentially I have a work block and a morning block here. And my work block is still active. The work block goes from 10 a.m. to about 5 p.m. every day. And it locks my Twitter, my Instagram, and my internet browser. Everything else is fine. Those three, no. And as I feel like I'm reaching for other things too much, you can add apps in, take apps out, things like that. You can also block specific websites and things like that as well. So I block all those off for 7 to 8 hours a day. I also have another block called the morning block, which is between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. I cannot use those apps on my phone either. And so that is also to prevent early morning doom scrolling. I only give myself an hour between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. to do anything, whether it's post on Twitter, post on Instagram, scroll those apps, any of that stuff, I only have for that time. And what's even better is it blocks the app from you using it. First things first, right? So if I wanted to go on Instagram, it's blocked. I can't use it. If I go into the Opal app and I say, hey, listen, I want to use this, it makes me do a 5-second breathe in, breathe out. Once again, taking you further and further away from your distraction, which adding a little bit more friction into the immediate dopamine rush of like the distraction. And then you have the option of, hey, I'm on a break, give me 5 minutes to use these things, and then it'll automatically lock it again if I want to take a break. That's how it works. It's really, really cool. I fucking love it. I love everything about it. And I was about to say it blocks everything, even notifications. So you won't even be told you have an Instagram notification, you have a Twitter notification. It just won't even send them to you, which means that there is nothing for me to check. There is nobody for me to respond to. There's no dopamine hit of like, you have this like, you have this comment, etc. Not that I even do. All of those things. So I really like it. And I'm really going to work in 2025 about really honing in and increasing the efficiency of these blocks to really benefit me. Because that leads into my life lesson number 1, which is single tasking, which I'm really working on this because I, like many people in this generation, assume that we can multitask. And multitask does not have to mean doing a plethora of things at once. It can literally mean I need to work on this, but I have a YouTube video playing on that screen. That is what it can mean. That is what I have a problem with, because I have this like FOMO of I don't want to miss out on the latest video. I have so many things I want to watch and listen to today, so I can just watch and listen to things while I work, and it's fine. But what that does, it creates an additional thing for your brain to pay attention to. Therefore, its full focus is not on the thing that you need to be working on. And I have realized that it is just really, really bad for me. It is another distraction. So I'm working on single tasking things a lot more. It's going to feel bad. It's going to feel like uncomfortable at first, thinking that I literally have nothing in my ear. And I'm just going to sit here and edit. Or I want to read, no background noise, no TV on in the background. I'm just going to sit here and read in silence. No music, no nothing. It's just me and this book. Things like that, Another lesson, which I alluded to earlier, was you are your own bottleneck. If you feel like, or whenever I feel like I'm having problems, they're mainly because of me. And therefore they're mine to control, and they're mine that I can control. I can control my behavior for it no longer to be a problem as long as I get out of my own way. Not sabotaging myself, essentially. That's happened quite a lot this year, and I really have been trying to get out of my own way. If I have a goal, I do it. If there's something important I need to do, I do it earlier in the day instead of pushing it off later in the day. If there's people that I need to talk to, I reach out and talk to them sooner rather than later, things like that. I still procrastinate a little bit, and I'm still trying to get better at that, at procrastinating. But I feel like I've done a good amount of work on it already thus far, and it's helped a lot. And then the next life lesson is knowledge and success is out there. You just have to take it. I realized that anything that I want to know is in my phone, is on my computer, is in a conversation with somebody else. I just have to go and do it, as opposed to thinking a thought, having a question, and then letting it sit as a question or a thought and not pouring more into it, because I like to know things. I like to ask a question and know the answer. I like to understand things. I like having life insights or personal insights about myself, and then feeding into those and looking into like, how does this work? How does that work? How does my ego work? Do I have anxiety? Where is it coming from? What's happening here? My work, I wasn't as productive this week, but is that actually a problem? I don't think so. I want to know how x-rays work. I can literally look that up, and I can go into like a chat GPT if I wanted to and look up like, hey, explain to me how x-rays work, but tell it to me like I'm an idiot. And then I can ask it questions. It's like, okay, well, what about this? What about that? Right? I can do those things. I don't have to just have a question and not have it be answered. And I've been doing a lot of work on myself in that respect, because I think this is something that I've talked through in therapy. So I don't know if I'll say it yet, but it's just something that I've been working through. I've become more curious, and I want to feed into the curiosity more. It's not always a good thing. So I'm finding the balance of which curiosities to feed and to lean into. But the lesson here is you're capable of doing everything that you want to do right now. You don't have to wait for something. There's nothing that you need to wait for. If there is something you want to know, you know it, you can look it up. If there's something you want to do, you have the ability to do it. It's all out there. You just have to go and do it. And then the last one is that we are all built on the relationships that we have. And so don't take your relationships that you have with other people for granted. There's a lot of there's a lot of benefit in who you have around you. That your relationships can help you or your relationships can hurt you. And it's really up to you to structure your own relationships the way you want them, right? If you want a deeper relationship with a specific person or a group, then put forth the effort and to make that relationship deeper. If you don't see a relationship here with say you have like an old friend that you really don't connect with anymore, and then every time you talk to them, you feel like you just have to talk about the past because your interests don't align. You don't have to put effort into that relationship anymore. You really don't. No one's going to think lesser of you for doing that. Who you have around you is a big factor in who you are yourself, and then what you do every day. I've really fed into my friends who are like active, and I will, frequently talk to my friends who go to the gym or who do calisthenics or who dance and things, just to be like, they're moving, they're being active. I want to be doing the same thing. And then I'll share my successes with them and they'll share their successes with me, or we'll share our struggles with each other. And in doing that, we have bolstered support for each other to then go forth and conquer more things. There are friends that I wrote down in that list in November that I haven't reached out to yet, because I feel like there's just something blocking me from doing that. And I'm trying to like learn, what is it? Is it because I don't feel like this friendship is where it should be? Do I feel like I don't want to continue being friends with this person, or I just don't want to put in the effort? Or do I want to use that effort and put it somewhere else in a different relationship? All those things. That's a big lesson I learned this year, because it started at the beginning of the year with the wedding and seeing all of these family members and people coming to support me, and me being really taken aback by people willing to spend their time being there with me on a very special day, and thinking, how am I providing value to this person? Am I providing value to this person the way they're providing value to me? What relationships do I really have around me? Really looking at that and really like taking a conscious effort in the relationships that you have currently, and then in that way also thinking about, are there new relationships that I want to make with people? So those are some of the lessons and life hacks that I've had this year. I really enjoyed doing this. It was a very reflective podcast, but I feel like it was important to share with you guys, just so I can start off on a good foot with you guys. This is the first one coming out in 2025. There will be more podcast interviews following. I'm gonna put a lot of work in, and hopefully, I will pace it well enough to where I don't fumble. But I will try very hard not to. I think I have a good system, hopefully, and I'm really looking forward to the next year. I hope you guys had a great end of 2024, a great 2024. And if it wasn't so great, I hope you have a better 2025 and you're able to do things that you want to do every day for the rest of your life. And eventually we will find what our end goal is. But until then, talk to you guys next time. Take it easy.